this thing on?
We talking about practice, man.
Yeah, I work with my hands. It's a misdemeanor in 27 states.
You gotta be comfortable with your co-host in this amount of space.
Yeah, I can see me and you.
This guy runs a state.
You get that through your head?
You just got hashtag content.
You know, technology and stuff.
Open your grill. It's stuck in your teeth.
Now I have to mark them so I don't get the lick mic.
You're not really that stupid, are you?
Quavos.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
We're double editing this time.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen.
That time of the year that Jim Mora hates, we're talking playoffs.
That includes the NBA playoffs, and surprise, surprise, all the superstars are upright.
And the stars on the ice, while they're battling for Lord Stanley's Cup, they are continuing to play, Maddie.
Plus, not all zingers are sweet, sweet snack cakes.
To be determined, Episode 7, previously recorded from the studio in Mom's basement. At Sports by Bond, Stephen Bond with at Trabs Matt. Matt Traybold. It's an exciting week, Maddie. 7 weeks deep into this. It's pretty amazing.
It's P season. Postseason.
Okay, all right. I'm not sure where you're going with that one, Maddie. I'm going to just go ahead and make a note here as you're... I was going to say, what's the word? But apparently, and I'm quoting here, P season is the word.
Forgot the oast. Forgot the oast. Silly geese. Both of us.
Geese be silly, and it needs to be addressed.
Call back.
Another great quote from yourself, Maddie.
Matt Traybold Esquire.
Matt Traybold Esquire. Oh, so you're the lawyer then?
No.
You have? Okay, or not.
Sometimes they're notaries. Esquires. I don't know. It's a magazine. Well,
this one went way off the rails early. Maddie, the word this week, all about the playoffs, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. NBA playoffs going on, NBA Finals, Stanley Cup playoffs going on. I may or may not have forgotten that the NBA postseason began so abruptly following the Stanley Cup playoffs, because as soon as they bring out Lord Stanley's Cup and start fighting for it, I'd lose track of everything else.
Lord Stanley's Cup. Fight for it.
Now it's Scottish. It's a Scottish Cup.
But that's
from Sean Connery.
The kind of guy you are. It's the kind of guy you are. It's nothing bad.
Well, you know,
so it makes you you.
I enjoy.
He's one of God's children.
What? This is the time of the year I enjoy the most. I can get 3 or 4 playoff hockey games, few nights out of the week, 3 or 4 nights out of the week, and this is really what I enjoy the most. Is seeing these games, this action. This, to me, is, I think, the most exciting hockey we get all year. Not only is it the amount of hockey we get, but it's just the intensity is a completely different level. As they, you know, has been said previously before, there's regular season hockey rules and postseason hockey rules, and I love postseason hockey rules.
It's similar to the NBA. I think it's so much better in the postseason compared to other sports. I think the difference in excitement level, even starting off in these first rounds, is such a different kind of monster when it comes to the NHL. Good monster at that. Cookie Monster. NHL and NBA.
This week, all about puck and ball in the playoffs. Pens reporter.
Say that?
I think we can say that. Puck and ball? No?
Yep.
All right. Pens reporter Josh Getzoff going to join us to talk about Lord Stanley's Cup, his playoffs. Then we'll have some association postseason ball discussion with Tom Martin of WIVB in Buffalo.
Gem and a half.
Both are FOTS, friends of the show. So yeah, that's the word this week. Let's start with hockey because, well, we put out a Twitter poll earlier this week on our Twitter account at TBD_show, and to your surprise...
Yeah, very surprised.
I think I asked something to the effect of, which do you enjoy more or which is better? And hockey won, which I was a little surprised too because we all know that basketball is a more popular sport in this country, so I was surprised by the response.
Variety is the spice of life.
It is. So we'll start with hockey. The defending champs off to a hot streak. There we go. Hot streak. Pens up 2-0 on Columbus as we're speaking, as we're recording this. The Penguins and Blue Jackets tied at 4 in overtime. So this one, a back-and-forth battle. Columbus starts off as hot as you can start. Now that the series has transitioned back to Ohio, exciting game back and forth. I am a little surprised just how hot of a start the Penguins got off, being up 2-0. Not only are they facing a very good team in Columbus, but they're very injured right now. They're down a key defenseman in Letang, and they're down their starting goaltender in Matt Murray. So, yeah, they've got all the pieces around him in Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Phil Kessel. They have the pieces there, but they're down some key guys, and typically the healthier team, no matter what the sport is, if you're healthy, you're going to be good in the postseason. That's typically what it takes, and that's certainly the case for hockey.
I mean, more times than not, a veteran is going to be able to adjust better to big-time injuries like that than some of these younger teams. And the Pens have so many of those kind of guys. You just mentioned them all. Malkin, Kessel, Crosby. Just having so many of those guys at your repertoire, both in the locker room in terms of getting prepared for stuff like that, and then actually on the ice itself, it's a big asset to have.
Well, I think the key there you said is about veterans being able to adjust and adapt on the fly. No better case than Marc-Andre Fleury, who has to come in unexpectedly and start game 1, now has the starts for games 2 and 3 because we don't know just how long Murray's going to be out. So very interesting there. The second tidbit I had on here is, could the Caps be in trouble? I mean, this is the President's Trophy winning team, a very dangerous team. I mean, everyone's talking about this is the Caps year. This seems to be the Caps year. Well, not so fast. Mike Babcock and the Toronto Maple Leafs saying, yeah, I don't think so. You know, and it's not Austin Matthews getting it done because Matthews doesn't have a point in the series. Yet we're tied at 1 game apiece. And I watched that game going to double overtime last night, and it was the fourth line that got it done. The night before, it was the fourth line for Washington that got it done. Now it's Toronto's fourth line. So some unexpected scoring from both teams. It's a very entertaining series to watch. I tweeted out middle of the first game, if that series could go 7 games, I'll be happy. I don't care who wins it. I'd like to see Washington because I think I'd like to see Ovechkin get a cup, and I don't want to see Toronto get one. But honestly, I don't care who wins it. That is just a fun series to watch.
And it's so big, if you ask me, that it's at sticks right now, tied up in the series. It's because I'm someone who's not as big of a hockey head as you are and knows all the ins and outs, both in terms of X's and O's and also teams and players. And I know how good the Caps were in the regular season, how dominant they were getting to the Presidents there. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to be knocked off, but they do definitely have a chink in the armor now.
The last nugget I had down here is just a knock against the NHL because anyone that's a hockey fan loves the sport. They may not necessarily love the NHL and the way the league handles things, and I'm one of those guys. When they restructured the playoff system, where they went to the top 3 teams in each division and then put 2 wild cards in there, it screws things up. And there's no better example of that than this year. And I'll go back to the Penguins and the Blue Jackets. Sorry, I almost said Blackhawks. Different conferences.
It's a different team.
Different team, different conferences. We'll go back to Columbus and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had the second most points, so they were the second best team in the league in the regular season. What's their reward for the postseason? Well, you'd think playing the 7th best team, but no. Instead, because of the way things are funky and get shifted around and the way the bracket ends up playing out, the second team gets a third string or a third seeded team. Columbus was the 4th best team in the league, statistically speaking, in terms of points. So now the second and the 4th place team are playing in round 1. I hate that. I hate the fact that you're going to lose one of the best teams in the league in the first round of the playoffs. I don't understand this. The NBA has it completely right.
Yeah.
The 1 plays the 8, 2 plays the 7, 3 plays the 6, 4 and 5 get together. That's the way it should be done. It's transparent. You know, I got to be in the top 8 teams. I got to be in that mix. Now,
willy-nilly.
I just, to me, and this is again, it's been discussed. I don't want to get into that. The point that I want to try to get across is that this is the prime example of why this system doesn't work, is because you've got 2 of the 4 best teams playing each other in the first round.
And that's how they're going to get good TV ratings and everything that comes along with that, is having those big-time teams, those big-time players being further along.
Yeah.
It's easier to advertise for this game that I think could really use some help with that. And we've seen that plenty of times, not just the postseason, but the regular season as well. But it's a big deal because wild card gets put into seedings a lot. You see in the MLB, and they have that 1-game playoff, and you could talk about that being maybe not the best move all you want, but at least they get plugged in at the right spot, if you ask me. And that is just not worked well in these in these playoffs.
And that's one of the more exciting games of the postseason in baseball, just because it's the one game.
One game.
All right, let's go to ball now. This is my question that I have down, just a couple for you. Are we destined for a third straight Cavs-Warriors final?
I don't think we are.
No.
And I think the Warriors were better, and the Warriors, I think, shifted what you saw in what used to be, for so many years, a superstars league in terms of the NBA. With the college basketball side of things, you look at the teams a lot more often. And the Warriors kind of bucked that trend when they had their big three. It wasn't just the one guy that you're looking at, like maybe a Kobe Bryant, within the same kind of span of years. And they went out and they hurt their team chemistry a little bit. Some big-time guys, maybe not production-wise, but locker room-wise, they went out of it. Some big-time role players. And they brought in another superstar in Kevin Durant. And even before he got injured, I'm not sure they were looking like a team that was going to have as good of a regular season record as they had last year, when it was more of a team concept than a couple superstars.
That's delicious.
Superstars at the top. So I don't know if they have that kind of team chemistry as they did last year.
All right, so if not the Cavs and the Warriors, then who do you like out of the East and the West?
It's tough because they're getting so old. But a storyline for year after year after year recently with the Spurs is that those old guys got plenty of rest during the regular season.
Yeah.
So San Antonio, I think, Kawhi Leonard, he came in
Not an old guy.
basically as a role player out of all role players. Because while he didn't do that many things, he did defense and stuff like that.
The little things.
So very well, and now he's unbelievably good offensively. That is so tough to go against. And when you have Kawhi, who's one of maybe the top 5 players in the league, and you bring in a LaMarcus Aldridge, who year after year, different organizations on top of that can bring it. Paul Gasol's been there before.
I was just going to say, Gasol is maybe the X factor in that, because he's been there, he's won the championships before, he's got the experience. All right, the last one that I had down here for you, best chances for an upset, but maybe what's the most intriguing opening round series that we have?
And I think it has to be, talking about upset chances, Milwaukee. It's got to be Milwaukee.
That's an interesting series.
Because usually you don't have a guy as good and as well-rounded as Giannis Antetokounmpo on a 6 seed.
I'm amazed that you can say his name so
on a
smoothly.
6 seed.
I'm not even going to pronounce it. I just go with Greek Freak.
Greek Freak.
That's the
not
way
bad.
I go, because
that's less syllables.
And I even messed that up just now. So which is why I'm not going to even attempt the latter. I did watch their first game of that series the other day. Tidbits. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. Very entertained by it. And Giannis is such a special player. If you, like me, and you haven't watched him at all, give it a couple of minutes. No doubt he'll do something special. To me, he's just that all-around player that you like to see. He'll do it on the defensive end, and he's so talented offensively that because he's such a big guy and so athletic, he's fun to watch. And that's all I care about with basketball. I just want to see fun games this time of the year.
And I know it's an entire series. You can't go off what Game 1 brought to the table, but just the fact that they beat him by so much, it really made your head turn. You're like, oh, okay. Toronto looked very, very strong going into the postseason, but that's a big margin of victory that Milwaukee was able to come away with.
Yeah, it opens your eyes. It opens your eyes. All right, that's the A block in the books. As we mentioned, hockey and basketball, the theme today. We'll talk to Tom Martin of WIVB in Buffalo about the hoops. We'll talk to my boy Josh Getzoff, the Pens reporter, about Lord Stanley's playoffs, the battle for his cup. That makes sense?
I like words.
All right. All that and more on TBD.
I hope you're hearing music right now because it means we're back here on To Be Determined.
Episode 7, TBD, at TrabsMatt, at Sports by Bond, at PensJG. Josh Getzoff. I think I got the Twitter handle right.
You're right.
All right.
That's correct.
Just off the top of the head. And I want to make sure I get the title right because I had something down here and then I realized I never asked Josh ahead of time, which is great prep work, great producing by me. I have Pittsburgh Penguins pregame show host, postgame show host, and reporter.
Yes, and reporter for PensTV. So
PensTV.
You got almost
right.
all Bondo.
It's
Almost
pretty close. I'm going to preempt this entire thing by saying I finally got a fellow Ithaca College guy on.
There you go.
Because for like 3 weeks in a row, we've had Penn Staters. And listen, I don't hate Penn Staters, but I was feeling outnumbered here. And I know there's a bunch of IC guys out there. So listen. And I didn't have to go far. It was first name in the Rolodex. We got him on. So, Josh Getzoff of PensTV, Pens pre- and post-game show host. It's a very complicated title.
It is. It really is. It's
But
way too long. They need to shorten it.
It definitely is. I don't even want to see your business card because that's probably insane. A guy that covers the league, in particular the Penguins, more than not. So let's start with the defending Stanley Cup champions. The Pens open up, and they could be the first team to go back-to-back Stanley Cup champions since the Red Wings did it nearly 20 years ago. Is this a team that looks like they're primed and ready to go for that run?
I think so. I mean, this is a team that is basically returning almost every single key piece that they had last year when they won the Stanley Cup, and they have a couple nice pieces that have stepped in already in the playoffs this year. As Jake Gensel obviously has been unbelievable since getting called up from Wilkes-Barre Scranton. You're seeing guys step up like Ron Hainsey, who they picked up at the deadline, who's provided them a serviceable guy on the blue line in the absence of Chris Letang, who's done for the season. And they have a lot of nice pieces, like still from last year, that are able to fill in and make a big impact on this group. Obviously, the big question is probably, in my opinion, on the blue line and in net moving forward in the playoffs. Matt Murray's status is known or unknown. I mean, Mike Sullivan said that there's no timetable as far as return for Matt Murray coming back into action. It's a lower body injury. We know that much. But Marc-Andre Fleury's been good. I mean, tonight, or I guess I should say Sunday night against Columbus in Game 3 was the lone blemish, I guess, on him so far. The first two games, he made 70 saves on 72 shots. And Game 3, obviously allowed 4 goals. But, there's an opportunity for him to really seize the reins here. And I think he's done a good job with it so far. Clearly, team winning all 3 of the games he started.
I mean, that's going to happen, though. Columbus playing at home, that barn was rocking.
Yeah,
those types of things are going to happen. How has Marc-Andre responded? I mean, to me, you know your starter is going to be Murray. It's the start of the postseason. He wants to be in there, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, he gets called in before the game starts in Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, that was a crazy situation. It was actually really weird because last year, it was almost a similar thing that had happened. If you remember, Marc-Andre actually got a concussion at the end of March. That's when Matt Murray stepped in and obviously never looked back. But when the playoffs started, Murray had gotten a concussion in the last game of the season against Philadelphia last year. So Jeff Zatkoff actually started Game 1 for them against the New York Rangers, played out of his mind. And the Penguins won that game and then ended up getting Murray back in Game 3 against New York. Obviously, the rest is history. But this year is the same kind of deal. Murray was on the ice for warm-ups there for Game 1, all of a sudden leaves, and then Marc-Andre Fleury steps in and plays out of his mind in Game 1. And the Penguins beat the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I think that it's been really interesting to watch Marc-Andre, and he's an awesome guy. I mean, first and foremost, I've gotten to know him pretty well the last couple of seasons, and he's been through a lot, no question, as far as the trade rumors and everything circling around him over the last season. And really, when it got to the deadline, I know it was a really tough time for everybody just because he's become a face of the franchise, become a fabric of the organization. It's been real interesting to watch how people have responded to maybe the thought of him not being around beyond this year. But I think with him being here, once the trade deadline passed, you saw him play some of his best hockey in the year. I think he was 6-3-3 down the stretch after the trade deadline. And his goals against had dropped significantly. His save percentage was up significantly. And these, as I said, these 3 games so far against Columbus, I think have been moments for him to kind of remind everyone it's good to have a quote-unquote backup that's won almost 400 career games and 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, so opening up to the entire Stanley Cup playoffs, what do you think has been the most surprising series thus far?
I think a lot of people probably would point to that Nashville-Chicago series, and I would say it's been surprising just in the sense that Chicago hasn't scored. Yeah. I'm not necessarily surprised that Nashville beat them, to be honest, both games. I think Nashville, they kind of remind me a few years ago in 2010 when the Philadelphia Flyers got in the playoffs. They were I believe, the 7th seed or the 8th seed that year, ended up going all the way to the final. You looked at them on paper when they got in, and you thought this is not a 7 seed. Mm-hmm. They are so much deeper than a regular 7 seed would be. And they end up getting, I mean, the path was paved for them a little bit with the Penguins getting knocked out that year. But obviously they got all the way to the Stanley Cup final and took the Blackhawks to 6 games. I look at this Predators team as a very similar team. I mean, anytime you have Pekka Rinne, you have a chance to win hockey games. No question about that. And he's clearly proven that in the first 2 games, both with shutouts. But I really like their team. I mean, Victor Arvidsson is a good player. You obviously have Philip Forsberg up front, PK Subban on the back end, Roman Josi, who's probably the most underrated defenseman in the NHL, and Peter Laviolette, who's, for my money, one of the best coaches in the NHL as well. So I think that's a team that's going to make a lot of noise. But to answer your question, the most surprising thing for me so far has been the Calgary and Anaheim series, because I didn't expect Anaheim to win both of those first two games. And I know there's a whole talk about how Calgary can't go into the Honda Center and beat the Ducks, and they were chanting, "You can't beat us here," whatever they were saying in that game with Anaheim and Calgary the other night. But that surprised me a little bit. I felt like Calgary coming down the stretch was one of the most consistent and one of the hottest teams in the NHL, and I thought they were going to give the Ducks a bit of trouble. Now, granted, when it goes back to Calgary, you go into that sea of red. It's going to be a totally different ball game in Alberta. But I was a little surprised that the Ducks won both games.
I would say those are the two biggest surprises that I had at least jotted down as well. The NHL, in their infinite wisdom, redid how they determined the postseason standings a couple years ago and how things worked out. I hate the way this is done now, and this Penguins-Columbus series is the prime example of that, where Pittsburgh is the second best team in terms of points. Columbus is the fourth best team. We're going to lose one of those teams early in the postseason, where I don't understand what the NHL is thinking in this situation. Is it frustrating for the players to see this, or does it are guys more excited about this? When you go into the locker room and you talk to them, are they ramped up to play such a good team like a Columbus?
I think the playoffs just get everyone going, as you guys know. I mean, these guys are just so competitive, and when they get the chance to be in these kind of stages, they really get after it. But I mean, it's interesting. It really is, because you're talking about the Penguins and the Blue Jackets, as you mentioned, Steve, like two of the top four teams in the NHL, two of the four teams that finished with 50 wins in the NHL, going head-to-head in the first round. And you could take it a step further potentially and say, suppose the Capitals advance, and suppose the Penguins don't have a massive meltdown here and advance past Columbus. You're talking about two of the four teams that won 50 games being gone after the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, that's just like last year when Wash and the Penguins played in the second round. It was basically the Eastern Conference Final in the second round. I know they brought these divisions together to foster rivalries, and obviously they're going to do that. I mean, there's no question about it. Teams are going to be playing each other a lot, and rivalries are going to grow as a result. But it definitely is a bummer. And the 1-8 format, I know everyone enjoys. The players haven't come out and said anything publicly. I know some of the Blue Jackets actually did down the stretch, just kind of saying, it does kind of suck to have to play a team that really should be in the 2-3 and then 1-2-3 in the conference, and you should be playing a team in 6, 7, 8 in the conference. I mean, it shouldn't be the team right behind you in the standings, but that's what they wanted to do, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And it's definitely going to build the rivalries, but I also always worry. I was talking to someone about this yesterday. If maybe they start to become a little stale just because of that. I mean, you're facing the same teams every season. Chances are, like, you can't always talk about the same rivalry. The rivalry's renewed tonight. I mean, it's not going to be the same thing every single season.
We all love hockey. Maybe not all of us love the NHL. I know Josh can't comment on that because he's so closely affiliated with the team. Let's jump to the younger stars. You've got a Connor McDavid. You've got Austin Matthews playing now. McDavid's looked pretty darn good early on. Just exciting every time he touches the puck. Matthews, I think, is yet to find his groove. What do you make of these young guys in the postseason in such an early part of their career?
I think it's great for the game. I mean, you're talking about 2 of the 6 Canadian teams that, quite frankly, both needed to get going. Yeah. I mean, Edmonton was in the lottery for 10 years to try and get over the hump there. I mean,
they had forever.
They hadn't made the playoffs since they went to the final in 2006 against Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time they've been in the playoffs since that happened. They've literally been the lottery winners, I think, 7 of the last 10 years. So it's been a long time coming, and they needed to get back in. I mean, that's an organization, you don't need me to tell you all the history there with all the players that have come through there and wore the Oilers sweater, and obviously now reside in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But it's great for them to get in. It's great for Connor McDavid to have the season that he had. He's going to probably win the Hart Trophy. He's already won the scoring race, obviously, with the only player to get over 100 points this season. So I think as far as Edmonton is concerned, that's great. Austin Matthews, to me, is even more impressive for what he's done this year, because I can't even imagine being a rookie, an American kid, which shouldn't be underestimated, and going into Toronto, which is just like one of the craziest hockey hotbeds and most demanding media markets, and basically saying, you are the reason we're going to either succeed in the next decade, or you are the reason we're going to fall flat on our face again. And I know it hasn't all been him. Mitch Marner's been really good for them as well. Willie Nylander. And they did make a great move. You got to give Lou Lamoriello and that crew credit for getting Freddie Anderson this summer from Anaheim, because he's turned out to be a true number one goaltender for them. But, yeah, I mean, Austin Matthews is a really, really dynamic player. McDavid has the speed. He has the shot. Matthews has the body with the speed and the shot. And I think that is just it's an unteachable kind of trait for a player. And he's been really fun to watch. The couple times that I've seen him in person, I've come away extremely impressed. Now, McDavid's speed, you can't help but be like wowed by it, but Matthews is in the same boat as well.
It's insane.
All right, time for predictions. Who will hoist Lord Stanley's Cup?
Well, let's see. Where can I go now? Pittsburgh Penguins are going to repeat. I really do believe that. I mean, especially with how things have gone here for them early on, because as we just talked about, I mean, this was a matchup here that I think a lot of people looked at and said, okay, well, if the Penguins come out of this series, who will they have left in their lineup? Because we all know how Columbus is going to play. They are in a position here, and I fully believe that they understand this. They don't need anyone to tell them it, that if they can take care of business on Tuesday night in Game 4 and come out of this series in a sweep, no one saw that coming. You know, Toronto and Washington are at least going 5 after they split and wash. So you're talking about a couple days of rest here. Carl Hagelin's getting closer. Chris Kunitz is getting closer. I mean, they're starting. Who knows what Matt Murray's status would be by the second round? So all of a sudden, you're looking at a team that maybe is a little bit more rested up, has the playoff success already, and is building towards something. Whereas the pressure still, for some reason, I really believe this. We've talked about this in our pregame show a lot. I don't feel like the pressure is necessarily on them because of Washington.
Yeah.
Because Washington goes out and gets Kevin Shattenkirk, and it's basically saying Stanley Cup or bust. I believe Brian McClellan, their general manager, came out and said that right after the move. We're going for it this year. So when you say that, and when you look at their roster and you look at the success they had, they're supposed to get past the Penguins.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens if they go head-to-head. But I think the Penguins definitely are the team, in my opinion. You knock off the champs, then we can start talking about another team. But they're the team right now at the top.
Well, hey, listen, they got to get past the Maple Leafs, the Caps do, that is, before we can even start to talk about a Penguins-Capitals series. I think that one's going to go 7. I really do. And I think you bring up a great point with if the Penguins can pull that out and sweep the Blue Jackets, A, no one saw that coming, but B, as you mentioned, just getting healthy. That's what it is this time of year, and this is a group that is banged up right now, but is so talented regardless of who's in that lineup right now. Everything seems to be clicking for them. That's why it's so amazing. And then, as you mentioned, the Capitals just seem to be all in. And I'd be real nervous if I was a Washington fan right now, because Toronto's not rolling over.
No, they're not. And I think when you watch those first 2 games of that series, both going into overtime, I mean, that to me tells me a lot. I mean, Washington is a team that probably, you would hope, learned from their series last year in the first round against Philly when they went up 3-0. Then lost 2 straight. All of a sudden, you're dragged into a 6-game series. Then you got to go play the Penguins. You should have finished it in 4. I really think the Penguins are going to look at that and see this opportunity here in front of them and say, you know what, we want to get it done. If you don't, you're still going home. They are unbelievable at PPG Paints Arena. I think they won 31 of the 42 games they played there this regular season, or 31 of the 41 games, they played there this regular season. They're one of the best home teams behind Washington in the NHL. So if they can't finish the job on Tuesday, I don't think there's any doubt that most people feel like they'll wrap things up on Thursday in Game 5. But the goal is obviously to get this thing over with and then get ready for round 2, whether it is a trip up north to Toronto or Washington.
Yeah, either way. All right, so that's the business. Sorry, I was trying to do what Maddie does. Sorry. All right, let's go to the final 5 questions here, and it brings me great pleasure to ask this question in particular. Your alma mater, sir.
Oh, Ithaca College. Go Bombers.
There we go. Great day to be a Bomber.
Heavy hitting stuff right now. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, man, I actually had a hot dog tonight, the medium meal. And I asked the guy that when I got it, and he looked at me like I asked him the weirdest question of all time. You know what? I don't think it's a sandwich. I just think it's a hot dog.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. Like, if I have a sandwich, I'm talking like closed. They can't really see what's inside of it. I'm eating it. I hope I know what's inside of it, but, you know.
That's the key, right? All right, so that's an interesting one. All right, how do you pronounce it? GIF or GIF?
GIF.
Attaboy.
We're both team.
Yeah, that just makes sense to me. And I get the creator says it's a GIF.
Yeah,
but
we have
what-
eyes. That's a G.
Yeah, that's a
Is
GIF.
that what the creator says?
That's
He
what
says
the
it's a
creator
GIF?
says. It's a GIF.
Doesn't
But that
know what to
makes,
spell.
makes no sense to me. I don't know.
Hey, smart at other things, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, what's your favorite beer?
Oh man, favorite beer. I like Ballast Point Sculpin. Is a really good beer.
Now,
IPA
where's that
from-
out of?
It's out like San Diego, but like
wow.
I've just had it over here. But to stay true to the Pennsylvania roots, my favorite beer to drink is probably Yingling.
Yeah, of course.
I knew it was
So-
coming.
I was just
I knew it
thinking
was
that
coming.
myself.
And,
That was the
I've
best
seen-
part. Hey, that was the best part about moving back to Pittsburgh, because when I was out in Illinois before I moved back here, they didn't have it anywhere.
Huh.
I came
Wow.
back here, I was just buying cases of Yingling. I thought I was a raging alcoholic. I still haven't opened some of them, but I have them.
Good God. All right, Josh, where can we watch your stuff, read your stuff, check you out on the interwebs?
Okay, so we are, everything's available online at PittsburghPenguins.com. You just click on the PensTV tab at the top and you can watch anything we have there. For radio, we stream online. It's the website is all numbers, 1059, and then the word letter X.com. That's our flagship station in Pittsburgh, 1059 The X, and you can click the Listen Live link on that website when we're on the air. Pre-game begins an hour before every Penguins game. Post-game generally runs for road games about 45 minutes, home games an hour. We went a little longer after Game 3 tonight because
Makes
there was
sense.
a lot to talk about, but that's generally the move there.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Josh Getzoff, the Pens pregame, postgame radio show host.
There it is.
Pens TV reporter. I try
There
to
it
get the
is.
whole thing. I try to get the whole thing.
Bang,
in, 'cause,
bang,
like,
bang.
Golly. Find him at PensJG. He's got plenty of Twitter followers. So if you're interested in, listen, even if it's just hockey,
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of Penguin stuff, but it's hockey stuff too. So
Yeah,
that's why it's worth the follow.
Yeah.
Josh, buddy, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. It was awesome.
All right, bump music.
What's that mean?
2 blocks down, 2 blocks to go. It's halftime. On the other side of this break, Tom Martin, WIVB in Buffalo, going to talk some association. Little hoops talk, Maddie, just for you. TBD, rolling on after this.
You're you, I'm me. Hope you listened to the early part of this show to learn our names. We're back here in To Be Determined.
Episode 7, to be determined. All about the playoffs this episode is. At Trabs Matt with at Sports by Bond, or reverse that however you see fit. Joined by at the number 4, Tom Martin. Tom Martin of WIVB out in Buffalo. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, guys. I understand there's some hoops going on this time of year.
A couple of basketball games that I may or may not have forgotten about at the early part of the week. So, yeah.
Hockey guy. He's a
That's
hockey
what
guy.
happens when the Stanley Cup playoffs begin before the NBA playoffs do.
Yeah.
I
He's
get
off the grid.
I
He's
get
off the grid. He
consumed.
doesn't know anymore.
I know. Well, that's true. I am partially off the grid. That is true. Nice little zinger right early. Tom Martin of WIVB, sports anchor reporter out in Buffalo, New York. That is the correct title, right?
Yeah, sports. That's the official title.
The official title.
Yeah.
Really a connoisseur of everything. And a fellow fan of Whataburger.
Oh.
Oh, I am the ambassador
Okay.
to the North of Whataburger.
That's so he's got the official title.
Not
Maddie-
Team In and Out. Not Team
Team in and out. No, this is
I'm Whataburger over. I mean, I haven't had Whataburger. Actually, no, I did when I was in Austin once. So, yes.
okay. I was gonna say it's something Tom and I have in common that you don't, but all three of us do.
I haven't had In and Out. So that's why I didn't
I've
speak
never
up.
had In and Out either.
I
So
don't know if I can really vote properly.
I don't know. Whataburger's good stuff. They got the spicy ketchup, the whole 9 yards. We do have a few downloads in Texas, so
Oh, it's so good.
he's just now we've depressed him on this Easter Sunday.
Texas
Be
toast.
talking about it.
Yes. All right, Tom, let's jump right into this. NBA playoffs. To me, the biggest storyline, I guess, is always around LeBron and the Cavs. They've been on... what's the best way to describe this? What do we write down? It's it tripped. They really tripped into the playoffs, is I think what Maddie had described it as, and we wrote that down. One, I guess, is that accurate, and are they still the team to beat?
In the East, yeah, I think so. I like Boston, but they're 1-4, I think, against or 1-3 against Cleveland this year, and you know what? And this is not meant to be an arbitrary point. This thing with Isaiah Thomas and his sister dying, I mean, this is brutal. And you have no idea how that affects somebody, especially a guy who's far and away what they need every single night. He averages 29 points a game. He is, I mean, he's incredible. And it's a well-coached team. It's a team that you think maybe Brad Stevens can get a couple series wins out of them. But going up against Cleveland, and LeBron James is LeBron James, but that team has it somewhere. And if they discover it they have a couple rounds to discover it before they'd have to face Boston. And if they can do that, I think Cleveland's still your team to beat.
And keeping with the Cavs a little bit, do you think we're destined for a third straight Warriors-Cavs final?
I don't want it to be that way, but I
Agreed.
think it's going to be that way. I think it's going to happen. I think you get to see. Look, it's only fair, winner take all, right? And the Warriors are still the class of the West. I'm a Rockets fan myself, so I'm hoping that Mike D'Antoni can find some playoff nuggets eventually. But it's just the two best teams in the league, and they've been showing people how to do it the last couple of years now. I see no reason why. The NBA, unlike any other league, I think is just so against parity. You can pick 4 teams every single year before it starts, and one of those 4 will win the NBA championship every single time. These 2 are as safe as bet as any.
Yeah, Mike needs to find those Sam Cassell big balls. I know you said nuggets. I'll make it a little less G-rated. All right.
Thank you, Matty. That'll be a fine later on in the post game. It's all right. We just mentioned, or you just mentioned, Isaiah Thomas and the tragic situation with his sister dying. Is Boston they're a number 1 seed, but are they really a contender? Are they going to come out of the East?
Seed. They're number 1 seed. They have to be a contender. What's your league if your number 1 seed isn't a contender? 53 wins, best in the conference. I saw them in Toronto up close. I think Toronto won the game, but that was a team that for most of that game looked like a legit number 1. And you see what they've done with the depth there. Avery Bradley's been such a revelation for them offensively, which you never would have thought happening. I'm a Texas fan too, and Avery Bradley at Texas was the guy who would steal balls for you and then miss the layup at the other end. So he's come a long way. Jay Crowder too. I don't know how many rumored trades Boston has turned down Jay Crowder within, but he can guard 4 different positions, and he's a big plus for them. So I don't think of a matchup that looks bad for them. It's just, is Cleveland just better? And that'd be the one reason they couldn't win it.
Bonkers game 1 between Giannis Antetokounmpo and Milwaukee and Toronto, the 3 seed.
Giannis!
Yeah. How do you see, if you think this will actually happen, how do you think the Bucks, what they have to do to finish the job in this series against Toronto?
Giannis needs to take the leap. Malcolm Brogdon's had an outstanding rookie year, and you hope that Kyle Lowry is slowed down. The key to stopping Toronto has always been slow down Kyle Lowry first. DeRozan might get his 35, but if you can really make Lowry, he's not going to miss all those shots every game like he did in game 1, but I think Giannis, if you get Lowry off his game for a couple games and you let Giannis do his thing, I'm telling you, I've been saying this for months. He is going to be the best player in the NBA 3 years from now. I don't care about LeBron, Steph Curry, James Harden, my guy, anybody. Giannis is the best at doing literally every single thing well. He has no weaknesses. I think maybe besides his 3-point shot, and that improved this year. He's 6'11" and can do everything physically that you ask of him. So if he comes out and has a standout star building series, Milwaukee could win it. Then again, Toronto's been there. Toronto's done that. Toronto could have their big 3 of Ibaka, Lowry, and DeRozan just come right back and sweep them. It could be that simple. Milwaukee is not a team that I would bet money on. They're just a team that you kind of root for in a way.
Well, and that's funny because I watched the tail end of that, or I watched bits and pieces of that game 1 against Toronto. I'm not even going to pretend to try to pronounce his last name, but Giannis.
Antetokounmpo!
There it is. All right. This is why you guys are, you're in the business. And the video version will have that spectacular dance. I was just so entertained by his performance and by that game. I don't know that game necessarily hooked me into it, but I'll watch, I'll watch game 2. I'll take a look. I'll peek for the heck
That
of
sounds
it.
like someone who's hooked into it. That's just me.
All right. Kawhi is maybe the quietest superstar left in the postseason. Okay, and Tom has left the building. Tom has left the building officially.
Hey, he's just getting some running. He's getting
Tom
his
has
reps
not
in.
left. Tom has not liked any of my questions, which is exactly why I'm not a.
Try again. Let's try again.
Kawhi. A quiet superstar.
The quietest.
The quietest
of superstars.
Superstars.
Respect for doubling down. Respect.
Are the Spurs? Are the Spurs Are the Spurs quietly the best team in the West?
Like they always are, though. So, like I feel like 10 years ago they were still quiet.
Okay.
They could win 4 championships in a row. It's like the Spurs were finally done. No, I think they're the class of the West still. They always have been. I think if there's a quietest good team, it's the Utah Jazz. But Rudy Gobert going down early was a big blow for them. I don't know if he's out for the series, but
I don't know if that's
sprained knee. I think is what they were reporting.
You
I don't
would
know how
think.
many.
Oh, the Stifle Tower. It's really too bad.
The French rejection going down, it's just not fun. But no, I mean San Antonio is so good, and Kawhi. Listen, I was at the NBA draft in 2011, I believe, and the Rockets had the 13th pick, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, take Kawhi Leonard, and they go Marcus Morris. And they're like, we're going to make him into a power 3 like Carmelo. And I was like, God damn it.
But he's a twin. That's fun.
Those have always worked out every time.
Robin Lopez is so good. He's starting in this game.
Yes, you are the Robin Lopez of twins. Congratulations, Marcus Morris. But no, like Kawhi Leonard, you knew he'd be good. But the fact that he has become... really, in any other season outside of having 2 historical triple-double fiends going for the MVP, he'd be your MVP. And the rest of that team remains solid. LaMarcus Aldridge is Aldridge. But the fact that the veterans haven't totally gone away, that Tony Parker's still chipping in here and there, and Danny Green can still shoot. And Pau Gasol is going to be a big body who isn't going to screw up too much. I mean, that's the recipe right now for them. And, yeah, I mean, they're going to handle Memphis, who isn't easily handleable. Yeah, I mean, I think they're as much a contender as anyone, and that includes Golden State and Cleveland.
So Houston, Oklahoma City. It appears to be maybe a race of MVP candidates, or is this going to be a series about something more? Are either of these teams legitimate contenders to win it?
I think Houston's legit. I'm very biased on that, but I think that they're legit. Only in the sense that I think the roster, and Sam Decker going down for them is a big blow, but I think the roster is maybe more from like the second best guy to like the 11th best guy, maybe as good as D'Antoni's had. You know, the top 3 or 4 guys aren't, but Harden's the best player he's ever had, bar none. So it's a different kind of depth for his system, and maybe if 11 guys shoot threes, and 4 of them make them, then maybe that system works in the postseason as opposed to just 4 or 5 that you need. So, I mean, Harden is so good, and Harden's my MVP, and that's an unbiased statement. I think Russ has been – it's like when Miguel Cabrera and Mike Trout were going at it, where you had, like, the triple crown, but, like, Mike Trout was better. Mm-hmm. You know, you had the triple doubles, but just because James Harden pulls down 2 fewer rebounds per game does not make him not the MVP. So, yeah, I mean, they've been historically good offensively, and literally it's as simple as if they make their 3-pointers, they can duke their way to the championship game, and if they don't, they're out, and they know that. So at least they're prepared for it, and that's the reason they could at least get to the conference finals, I think.
I don't like Russ's quote today, meaning Sunday, about that his only friend out there is Spalding. That just it irks me the wrong way. If you're going to be an MVP,
yeah.
I don't just that to me kind of tips the scales where – I was really impressed with Russ's season. It was that's what kept me around. Like, okay, I'll watch a couple of minutes of a game here and there to see just how dominant he was. But it goes back to what else are they doing? Who are you going to on that team besides him? He's got it. He has to.
Steven Adams, mate.
Yes.
All right.
I mean,
it's
you
not
don't
great
have
for
the beard. You
It's
don't
not
have the beard
great for the
anymore.
audio version. I'm just like tussling my fake mustache. It's not great for the audio version.
All right, Tom. I was told this question would be good for NBA fans like yourself. Joe Johnson, maybe the most overpaid player in the history of the league. finally earning that paycheck maybe in game 1? Maybe.
I have always liked Joe Johnson up until he was really important for teams, and then it was like, oh God. Like Joe Johnson was like very good in Phoenix, very good in Atlanta, and then he gets to New Jersey. He's like, all right, save us, Joe Johnson. And Joe's like, y'all, I'm checked out. Got my contract down to it. No, I mean, yeah, he's somebody who, if you want a big shot per game, he can do that for you. So yeah, it's big. He's a guy I like. People hate on Joe Johnson. I don't hate Joe Johnson. So and one more thing, getting back to the OKC series, I think there's a curse involved where if you have a super team consisting of Westbrook, Harden, and Durant, and you somewhat purposefully dismember that super team, all of the top 3 players within are hereby cursed forever. With the exception of James Harden because he's a Houston Rocket. But the other 2 guys... I didn't think that through. But the other 2 guys...
It's nothing to do with the fact that Tom is a Houston native or a Rockets fan.
No. That OKC team baffles me because you have a guy as good as Russ is, and they still haven't won, more than 47 games. And that's still a good number, but that you're having one of the best seasons in the history of the game in a point guard-driven league. So, I think Houston wins that one. Joe Johnson... How did Joe Johnson come up so early in this podcast?
I don't know.
It's like Albert Hainsworth. It's like he got paid, and then but last night was Woo Pig Suey. It hit the rim 3 times. Oh my gosh, so Joe Johnson right now. All right, so we got to the business, got to the basketball. Got 5 more questions for you. First off, what's your alma mater?
Mizzou, University of Missouri.
All right, so a little something different.
Mizzou Mafia.
Finally not a Penn Stater. I'm glad that we were able to break that up. It's been a series of Penn Staters. Nothing against the Penn Staters, but that's I like that.
Nice.
I like that.
That's simply not nice.
All right, Tom. The hard-hitting question that traveled around the Bills locker room for a week straight: is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, it's a hot dog.
But what is it then?
It's a hot dog.
Said that.
So it's not a sandwich.
It'd be called a hot dog sandwich if it was a hot dog sandwich, but it's a hot dog.
All right.
It's not bad.
Don't overthink this.
That is an answer.
This is not difficult. It's a hot dog.
All right. GIF or JIF? How do you pronounce it?
I go GIF because I saw it as GIF, and JIF to me is peanut butter. So stop taking JIF away from peanut butter.
I like that. I like that answer. We can agree. We can agree on that one. Favorite brew, sir? What beer do you go to?
I love Bell's. I've had a thing for Bell's. Okay. And Ommegang as well. Big Ommegang fan. Rare Voss is a good drink. Those are my 2.
Now, do you get Ommegang down in Houston, or did you just discover it when you came up to New York?
First of all, is it pronounced Ommegang?
It's pronounced Ommegang.
Oh.
Okay.
And the only reason I know that is...
It sounds like a very, suave, 1800s French pronunciation. Ommegang. I did not have it in Houston. I got it up here.
Okay,
so
all right. So
Bell's and Ommegang, I've gotten both up here. In Houston, and I'm going to add one more. I'm a huge Shinerbach fan. That's like my go-to, average beer
I've had that, yeah.
Shinerbach.
That's a good one.
Because it's in Texas.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, one last one. Where can we find you on the internet?
The internet, you can find me on Twitter @4TomMartin. You can also find me on the Oddcast podcast. It's our Sabres podcast. Probably done for the summer. Might have a draft edition or something. But yeah, that's on the website on WIVB.com. Got the plug-in. You guys are the best.
Hey, anything we could do. Listen, I love listening to that show. You guys do a great job. It helps me keep track of the Sabres when I don't watch every single game anymore. So it's a lot of great. It's a lot of great nuggets that you wouldn't normally get just by watching highlights, and you're certainly not going to get it on the mothership or anything like that. So
you know what the Nuggets still made it into an NBA playoff discussion. Upset of the night. We've had 2 Nuggets references, and they were out. So.
We've done it. I think we've come full circle then. Tom
Success.
Martin of WIVB in Buffalo. We thank you for the time, sir.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
All right, little bump music. We're going to jump out of here with Tommy still on the line. He's got to just sit there and appreciate the music, as every guest does.
Keep looking beautiful.
Just around the corner, some segments. We'll talk some segments. There are some interesting things ahead, and I don't remember off the top of my head what we had, but I do have a gripe as it pertains to the grocery store yet again. TBD, rolling on it for this.
I hope they like me. Oh, I hope they like me. We're back here on To Be Determined.
I like you, friend.
It's like a hip hop song.
Okay.
But it's like, oh, I think they like me.
Well, it kind of goes against the rock theme we've got in this particular kind of music.
So it's a little bit awkward. Didn't really vibe.
You're ahead of your time.
We're gonna make it vibe.
You're ahead of your time, Matty.
We're gonna make it vibe.
At Sports by Bond with at Trabs Matt. Let's jump into some segments. This show a little cluttered. We're a little all over the place, but that's because of the nature of the content.
It's playoff time.
It's playoff time.
A lot of games.
You got to change things up.
A lot of games to ingest.
A lot of games to ingest, indeed. All right. Let's jump into some segments. As I said, B-side story up first. Ooh, and I really cut out the music there. That was a hard cut.
Drop it on their head.
Just dropping it real quick. NFL officials want to do away with celebration penalties. Scott Green, the NFL Ref Association executive director, says nothing is worse than someone going 80 yards for a touchdown, and then we're trying to figure out, does that warrant a flag for what he's doing in the end zone? We don't really enjoy that. If we could get to a point where it would simply be fines by the league, that would be great, end quote.
And that's big because
So Matty, that raises an interesting point, and this is the nugget that I put down here. If celebrations became fines, I think guys start to think about the bank account more than a few yards. In a player's mind, what's worse, 15 yards or $15,000?
What's worse? That's that money. I would think that's
losing
that money.
Yeah, losing out on the cash.
And that's big. That's big against the Shield because you have the two sides of this story in terms of actually on the field. They seem to be on the same page with all this. And it's really easy when you see someone get flagged for it, and it kind of takes away all the win from the sails of what's a very exciting game because, hey, that means someone just scored a touchdown, even if it wasn't a really long one. It's still 6 points, still points on the board. And just because the Zebras are there, you think it's on them. They're the ones being the curmudgeons, when it's really just it's the Shield telling them from above.
Yeah, it's the league. I like the idea of that. I don't know that they'll ever go to it because then the league looks like the bad guys, where in this case, the refs are taking the brunt of it. From a fan's perspective, if I'm in the stands and I've had a couple of beers and the ref throws the flag, I'm not thinking, oh, that's Roger Goodell. I'm thinking, it's that zebra.
Exactly. That's how they get away with it.
Exactly.
Because it sounds like
all of a sudden,
maybe even for a little bit now, it's been the referees who have had this feeling, but I'm just figuring out that was the case.
But instead, if it is Roger Goodell and if the flag is thrown, let's say that you're going to leave the determination up to the ref. So they throw the flag, but there's no team penalty. It's you're going to be fined later, and it's a flat rate
after the
if
fact.
there's a decision made. Or listen, just like we have the concussion guys up above, the doctors up above keeping an eye on it. League official, keep a league official up there. One guy to just watch that says this looks excessive. This looks I can't talk right now.
Just rocket some Darryl tallies. No, but I agree, and it definitely should be. Not in terms of severity, because
excessive.
How do they know about dancing?
Right.
So you have Roger Goodell talking about the pump move.
My point was, before I couldn't figure out how to talk there, is that if it is deemed to be too much, excessive, then let it go to a review. You've got a couple of days that week, or it can be prolonged. The fine then doesn't need to be addressed right away.
Yeah.
To me, that's a series where, and again, if you want, this is what the NFL's trying to do. They want to regulate a little bit. That's a way to wean it out.
I don't think they should be regulating it too much.
No,
but if they are going to do it, then I do like the fact that you're keeping the continuity. You're not doing something at that moment. It's like you said, a couple days later, maybe.
I agree with that. I don't think they should do away with it because I like the celebration, especially if it's a home game. Home team gets a big touchdown. The crowd's into it. I think it's better on television. You get all of a sudden into it.
Everybody involved. You want that continuity. You want that momentum. Better, worse. Better, worse. Better, good. Silly me.
There we go. Well, that was a rough segment for both of us. All right, let's jump into the next one. By the numbers. The number this week is 0. Mo Harkless elected not to shoot a three-pointer during the regular season finale thanks to a very lucrative clause in his contract. If Harkless finished the regular season 35% or better from three-point range, he would get a $500,000 bonus. Entering the game against the Pelicans.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, exactly. Harkless was shooting 35.1% from beyond the arc. So, any red-blooded, capitalistic American would do exactly what Harkless elected to do, and take 0 3-pointers and collect on that $500,000 bonus. As the great one once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and in Mo Harkless's case, it's a good thing he didn't.
Hey, you should have played on the wild side. You might have hit him.
Listen, I'm not gambling. With,
I know.
With a
That's
$500,000?
that's
all
a
right,
lot.
so you walk into a casino, you put $500,000 on red or black. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it comes up green and you're screwed either way.
But that's crazy. I didn't know they had those kind of stipulations that deep in contracts.
It's
in the pros.
crazy. Especially for a guy like that. I mean,
He's like a role player.
Yeah,
he's a rotation guy.
that's a lot of money.
He's a rotation guy, but
that's
not a superstar.
That's a lot of cheese. Side note, the Blazers lost the game by, 3 points, 103-100. Isn't that all too fitting?
I jumped the gun a little bit there because I looked down because I didn't know the score previously. Like, oh no, it was
I just
3
thought
points.
that was very fitting. So the number this week is 0.
And speaking of R&B songs, I forgot who sang it. You might even know this one because it was so wide, so mainstream.
Okay.
Why do you be so heartless? But it's like, why do you be Mo heartless? Whenever he was playing at St. John's growing up, always used to say that. Oh, I don't know who sang that. I don't know. Acorn.
Wasn't it Kanye? Had the Heartless song?
It was. It was super auto-tuned.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at you. See, I wasn't sure.
Hey, once in
You're
a
big
while,
country
man.
guy.
I'm just a big everything guy. I listen to a bit of everything. Don't you
Hands in all the cookie jars.
don't you label me. All right, number this week is 0. Let's jump into the get off my lawn moment. Again, no notes for this segment because this was just something I happened to
Top of the block.
witness with the old 2 eyes here. So, 2 days ago, by the time you're hearing this, would be 2 days ago, Saturday, headed to the local grocery store with Mom. Gonna get some Easter goodies and some things for the breakfast, the brunch, the treats, whatever you want.
Some Canadian
whatever you
bacon?
want to call it. We wander.
Croissants?
Okay. We wander around the aisles. Mom likes to do the aisles first, then head back, get the meats and the produce and all that stuff. So it's not sitting in the cart while we're going around. It's a different strategy than I
Breaking it down.
normally employ when I go. But hey, whatever.
Just willy-nilly.
It's her trip, whatever she wants to do. So we head down the chip aisle. I remember this very vividly because wanted to get some chips for the show. We usually get a chip and a dip going for the show.
Oh.
Wanted to get some chips.
C&D.
And I walk down the aisle, and there is a lady down the aisle, middle-aged lady, shall we say. Don't want to put a Matt's glaring at me because he wanted me to put an age on it. But I'm just going to say middle-aged. That's
no,
we'll keep
that's
it broad.
better. That's
We'll keep
better
it
than
broad.
saying.
And she's
that's not a nice thing to call a
feverishly
woman.
walking up and down the aisle, trying to find whatever chip she was looking for, sort of mumbling to herself. And I'm just I've picked up my chips, and
Stranger
Mom's
danger.
looking around, trying to figure out if there's anything else she would like to get for the week or whatever. And I glance at my phone to see the time, and then I look up. And what do I see? But this lady adjusting herself waist high. I'll give you just that's the best way I can describe it. Above the waist.
That's a good way. That's a good way
Above
for the FCC.
It was an above the waist adjustment. So my question is, Maddie, how sneaky do you have to be when adjusting yourself in public? Because this was not hidden
I think
at
for
all.
dudes, you got to be. It's a little bit less socially acceptable to be
Is-
doing it.
is-
Well, unless you're
so
like
it's the
in
double
the pros
standard then.
for some baseball and stuff, and they're just going.
Well, that's different. It's a
wrist
game.
deep
It's a
right
game.
there.
That's different. I'm saying in a public forum, in a store, in a grocery store, if you will. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a woman do that.
Yeah, that's true.
In the middle of a grocery store in the afternoon. That's what just
Oh yeah,
took me back a bit. I was like,
you
I was
got
a
to be
little
more
startled.
nonchalant.
I was a little startled.
Got to
by
be
it.
more nonchalant.
Because as a guy, we've all done the little adjustment.
Yeah,
Below
but you
the
like
waist.
go. And you just kind of no look it.
I don't know if I've ever coughed to bring attention to myself.
Plus, that's actually a good point.
You
'cause
got to peruse.
People are gonna look.
Right. You got to peruse the situation to
And
see.
Via perusing, you got to maybe even work it into the walking form. Just kind of get a little space there, little thigh work, a little air between.
She was clearly in a hurry. I'll give her that. Clearly in a hurry.
Oh, this was while walking.
She was walking. She had stopped to try to figure out a bag or two that she was looking at. That's when she made, and it was an abrupt adjustment. It was like almost like a juggle.
Oh, a little
Dare
skirt?
dare I say a juggle? Okay.
Like SKRT, like skirt, like
Yeah, it was something. It was something.
If you
Maddie.
stop your motion and you're looking at the periffs, if you stop your motion, you're
I mean,
like, oh.
listen. It was just my mother, myself, and this lady in the aisle. So it's not. If she was in the aisle by herself, I mean, listen. You want to go down to the pet aisle when no one's there? By all means, head down that way. Figure it out. Do what you got to do.
Kibbles and bits.
But don't
deal with
we
your
are,
kibbles and bits.
We are a cart distance away. I don't need to see that.
Cart distance
away. It wasn't like I was at one aisle and she was at the end. We're a cart distance, so that's maybe 5 feet.
You were like in the splash zone. The wingspan.
Yes. Definitely in the splash zone. So random lady at the grocery store, I don't know who you are. Just get off my lawn.
That's very
with
relatable,
the
though.
adjustment.
Just adjustments.
Get off my lawn with the adjustments.
Especially for a couple men.
Ay. All right, let's move to Twitter takes. Now, Maddie, I know we forgot to write down the second one here. We've got 2 for you today. So I'll read the first, and I hope you can give me the best one as you can off the second. I'll try to, if I can, pull it up real quick. The first one, little shout out to SVP on this one.
Yeah.
This was pretty cool. So SVP rescuing his alma mater's sports radio station in the most baller way possible is the way
It's a good adjective.
that I put it.
Proper.
I figured that was a good way to do it. So co-station director Liam Beautis, I'm not sure if I'm...
Beautis?
One of the
Liam B.
Liam B. Tweets SVP about being short of their fundraising goal. They were trying to raise $8,000, and the money going to go to help the students kind of travel with the teams, I'm assuming.
That's what keeps these stations relevant.
Exactly.
Up and running.
Liam B. informs SVP that they're short. SVP promptly asks how much is needed. Beautis... Liam, whatever his name is.
Liam B.
Says $1,255. SVP, again, promptly responds, I got you. And I put I got yo, so there's a penalty on me. I got you. Playing golf now. We'll cover this. You're funded.
And just bringing up that he's on the course at the moment, that's so baller.
That is quite the amazing moment. Quite the amazing
second one.
The second one is even better, I think.
So... Dwayne Wade, getting up there in age, playing the Celtics tonight in the playoffs, his Chicago Bulls. Had a little breakaway action, showing the age a little bit.
The age.
Got stuck by the rim.
The springs aren't as springy.
Didn't fall, which would have been so much worse.
Credit to him for not falling.
But rim was unkind.
The rim was unkind. And
so
I'll
then
read you
his
the
beautiful
tweet.
wife.
Well, hold on. We got to read you the Bleacher Report tweet first, Maddie. Bleacher Report tweets, who moved the rim on D. Wade? Now, Gabrielle Union, his wife, says, I did. Next time, put clap emoji, the clap emoji, seat, clap emoji, down, clap emoji.
Clap talking.
Next
time, you put the seat down.
It's just so good. It's so good.
That's great. The clap emojis made, I didn't even know what those were at first. You were showing me from afar on your phone. That made it so much better. It was already great because that whole cliche left the seat up. Got stuck while I was trying to do my biz.
That's a great tweet. That's
amazing.
I think she won Twitter for Sunday.
She did.
That was a really fun tweet.
That's a hat tip right there.
That's a really fun tweet. All right, it's got legs, and this one's interesting. This one could get heated, or it is heated, I guess we should say. Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps.
You just call him Zinger.
Upset with the Knicks brass. He elected to skip his exit meeting with President Phil Jackson.
Oh boy.
After Phil Jackson saying that Carmelo Anthony would be better off somewhere else.
Phil Jackson.
Yeah. What do you make of Zinger skipping the meetings amidst all this drama, Maddie?
Well, first off, Phil. Part of that quote he's talking about maybe Carmelo should go to a team that has a chance to win a championship quicker. No, come on. You're part of the organization. You should be thinking that's going to be happening now. That's going to be happening quick. This is a team
It's
that
clearly
can be
not,
quick.
though.
But really, he's just trying to say whatever he can to get Carmelo out. I don't know how that relationship got so bad, but going back to Porzingis, that was maybe the only shining light on this team going forward as a future. And now you've done so much against one of his teammates.
He's the future. Melo is not of that team.
Yeah, you've done so much against one of his teammates in Carmelo Anthony that the future of the team is irked about it.
Not good.
Phil Jackson's
Not
so good in other parts of his life. Very good player, a legendary head coach.
Yeah.
Usually they can judge it across all facets of their life, these kind of winners in life. Man, this is not his cup of tea.
I don't blame Zinger for doing this.
No, I don't either.
I think I think the way he looks at it is there's so much chaos around this team right now. Let me break away for a couple of months.
Go on vacation.
I'll catch you in a bit when you've hopefully figured this thing out. They've got bigger fish to fry, what to do with Melo, what to do with the draft, the whole 9 yards.
Just hit up Barbados or something. But
I think you went back to Latvia, which
sounds
is
terrifying.
kind of like Barbados, but probably not at all.
Yeah, the tropical oasis of Riga, Latvia, or wherever he's from. Riga? R-I-G-A? But
Riga?
Really, I couldn't say anything bad about Kristaps. I love Kristaps. So I agree with any decision he makes.
It's a story that's going to continue to develop, which is why it's got legs.
This is so early in their offseason. I
Yeah.
mean, the NBA as a whole isn't in their
there
offseason
Yeah, they're
even
not there
close.
All right.
Yeah, boy.
Another one in the books, Episode 7 of To Be Determined, coming to a close. I'd like to thank our two guests. There we go. Pens reporter, Josh Getzoff. Sports anchor reporter of WIVB in Buffalo, New York, Tom Martin. Both those guys for joining us today. An insight on hockey and basketball.
Just
fun
playoffs.
Fun segment.
In general.
I didn't realize you were going to throw that kind of twist on it, man.
Hey, we're talking about Barbados.
I didn't realize you were bilingual, sir.
I don't think that's even remotely Spanish.
You were bilingual. Make sure you check out the show on iTunes and Google Play. Download it, subscribe. Leave us a review if you are on an iTunes user. Always like reviews. We got, I think, one review up there so far, so we'd like a few more. Even if it's bad, just throw your thoughts down there. Make sure you check out the show on Twitter at TBD_show, on Instagram at ToBeDeterminedShow, and email the show at tbdmailman@gmail.com.
Hit up that YouTube channel.
Hit up the YouTube channel. We got the post-game presser coming up shortly. We'll get that up on Wednesdays.
Senior producer, Mitch Paluco.
Senior producer,
Word
Mitch
up.
Paluco, get another shout-out. All right, later, boys.